Welcome. We're going to talk about Copilot basics. I have a ton to show you. Full disclosure, I can do this in about 2.5 hours, and I'm going to cram 2.5 hours to 3 hours in about 1 hour, maybe less. The good news is that I'm going to try to demo as much as I can. I'm going to give you guys endless slides, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give you, I've got some more presentations today, tomorrow, Wednesday, around Microsoft Loop, around a little bit more of a Microsoft Copilot deeper dive. So I'm going to give you the link to basically all the presentations, at least the presentations that I'm going to be putting on. That way you guys can see. It's just a pet peeve of mine whenever I'm in the audience, the whole thing, and then I can kind of focus in a little bit more better. So here we go. Screen, there we go. All right, so first thing, I know we've got a lot of people on the chat, and I've got Stephanie back there and Bill kind of eyeing the chat. I also put into the chat AKA link, aka.ms/ask Carlos. That is just in case you want me to follow up with anything. It's a great way to just kind of put that in there. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. What do we know? So from a Copilot perspective, any kind of high level comments, anything? Have you guys been playing with it, or is this brand new to you? Brand new. So we're getting a little bit of a dive into what we can do with AI inside of M365 Copilot. Perfect. And then I put in there, you're going to see it multiple times throughout the presentation. So if you don't get it right now, that's okay. But that AKA Gamma Copilot, that's going to give you the hyperlink to basically, I think it's a PDF of everything that we're going to be working on the next couple of days. So first thing is first, it's no secret. I think there's a lot of people that are very, very familiar with all things AI, or they've kind of heard, hey, we're using AI now, we're using AI in a specific application. Right now, it's like everything is AI. If you hear it, it's a little bit overwhelming. I think when everything's AI, nothing is AI. But it's kind of a big deal from a productivity perspective. And that's what I'm going to focus on, where you start seeing some of these trends over here. 75% of people spend less time searching for information. So these are small kind of things that we've noticed already within 1 year of Copilot. We've done a lot of different studies. Obviously, this one's from Work Trend Index. And it really, really helps you in multiple aspects, not just work faster, but there's going to be a little bit of a theme that I'm going to mention over and over, possibly around, I call it filling in your gaps, right? So we're all really, really good at something. And can Copilot help with that something? Yeah, absolutely. But that's not really what it's for. It's really for helping you with wherever you have some gaps, the stuff that you're not familiar with, right? And I think that's going to change the way that we work. It's going to change the way that we look at things, not just from a time savings perspective, but I think we all kind of, when we signed up for whatever job we have, we signed up to do something, right? To influence students, to teach students, to do some research, not to do like mundane work, not to go and get stuck in the business processes. And that's what Copilot does really, really well. Gets rid of all those business processes and all that stuff that you don't want to do, so you can focus on what you do want to do. So first question, in case you want to kind of just play around in there, you want to get going, you want to just kind of see what it's like. These are two different links. Don't ask me why we have two links for this. We actually used to have 4. We've condensed it to 2. I'm sure we hit the other 2. But copilot.cloud.microsoft is a great way of getting there. I think the easiest one for me, at least, it's office.com/chat. That'll take you right into Copilot. So Stephanie in the previous session mentioned, I like the way that she said it. I apologize for we call everything Copilot. It's a joke where I believe it's like George Foreman calls all of his children George. We call all of our children Copilot. So there's a lot of confusion in there. So I'm gonna give you some high level stuff, right? So there's this thing called Microsoft Copilot, and Microsoft Copilot in general, right? That is what we'll call the web version of Copilot. This is the one that's grounded on all things chat, all things like the web, where it's, internally we just say Copilot for the web. It is something that everybody on this call, everybody here face to face has access to, right? And then we have another thing that's called M365 Copilot. And M365 Copilot is grounded completely on your institution. right? In this case, University of Alabama. So it's got access to basically everything from the graph perspective. And the graph is like your chats, your emails, your calendars, and such. So once you're in there, what you're going to kind of notice is that, I think where a lot of people first stumble is just the concept of like prompts and how do I get to the right prompt? And I like this whole kind of example of like, whether you're a co-pilot or a captain, I think we're all working to be our captain, right? You have to go and you have to make these kind of decisions. And when you make decisions, you want to be kind of as explicit as possible, right? You want to try to go and say everything that you want to do, and you want to kind of describe it as best as you can. That's really, really important from a prompt perspective. And we have a session that's going to focus heavily on a fun activity for all things prompt coming up. But when we go and we create a prompt, these are like 4 things that you want to kind of remember, right? So number 1 is understand your goal. What type of responses that you're looking for. Give it as much context as possible. And I like to think of this as being as explicit as possible, right? So who's involved? What do you need to exactly do? What are you looking for? Do you need to pull resources from a specific site or a specific place? Make sure you kind of source anything if that's really important. And then also like set some expectations and parameters around prompting. You tell it, we call it a digital assistant. It's almost like if you've ever had an assistant or a secretary or you want one. I tend to be a little bit bossy of mine. I call it Copilot Carlos or Copilot Carla. And you go in there and you're like, I want this and I want this and I want this. As much as you possibly can, just put it into the prompt and it'll give it the right, the context, the source to get that outcome that you want. The things to remember is like what to do and what not to do. And this is a muscle. So it takes a little bit to kind of get used to this. And when we want to build this muscle, you want to be very, very clear, very specific. People tend to go into like this robotic format where if you're familiar with like, everybody's done for years now Google searches, right? And it's very focused on keywords. What are the keywords? Well, when you're prompting, it's very focused on conversational. Talk to it like you're trying to describe. I say talk to this like you're talking to your parents, right? It's fun to try to explain AI to my parents. They're not quite there yet, but I get very, very detailed and I try to explain it in a very simple format. But try to keep it conversational. As many examples as you can. With Copilot, you can also ask for feedback, and you're going to get an answer, or you want to go and you want to check something, and you want to get some type of feedback, or you want to check for the accuracy. These are all the different things that Copilot can kind of go and respond back to it. And I always put there at the end, be polite. Not because you're going to get a better response when you're polite with being with Copilot, but I think it's just it's a good thing to do. It's a great way of actually letting the AI understand that you like something or you're happy with it. If not, it's going to kind of think in a sense of, okay, well, he got something and he might need some more, right? Or I'm on the right track or I'm off the right track. So things to not do, obviously, the opposites, right? Don't be vague. Don't request inappropriate or unethical content. So let's just talk about that for a second. This is something that really separates Copilot from many, many other types of AI, right? So we have this thing called responsible AI that's put into the mix, right? So you can't go and ask for it to teach you how to go and create a bomb or how to hurt somebody or anything from that nature, right? So there's some guardrails put in there to make sure that stuff like that does not come out. Try to avoid using slang and jargon or any type of informal language. Now, one of the great things about Copilot is that it uses natural language, right? So if you misspell something or you miss a couple of adjectives or you miss a couple of words in there, it's okay. It'll still kind of understand what you're asking for, but try to be, once again, just as explicit as possible. I say to chunk things up, right? And don't kind of give any type of conflicting, I want you to do this, but not this, but if it does that, then also do this. Don't kind of go back and forth from a prompting perspective, but don't go back and forth in one prompt. That makes sense. So there's also a feedback aspect within Copilot. It's just a nice little simple like thumbs up, thumbs down. If you ask it for a question and you ask a specific question and it just, for some reason, gave you something that has nothing to do with what you asked, give it a thumbs down. This is direct feedback right into the engineering team. And it's something that they take very, very seriously. It's going to ask you, hey, can we go and take a look at your prompt? Can we go and can we have a screenshot of this, right? Nothing that you have to do extra. You just say yes and it'll automatically send it to them, or you say no and nothing will get sent. But providing feedback is something that's really, really important. All right, so from I call it final systems check, because we have the whole Copilot theme, we're getting ready to fly away. From a safety and security perspective, it's very important that you understand your information is private and secure when you log in. So when you go to office.com/chat, the first thing you want to do is in the top right corner, you want to make sure that you log in. When you log in and you see your University of Alabama credentials, when you see that, you have this thing that's called enterprise data protection. And enterprise data protection just means at no point is a large language model or Microsoft or anything learning from you. Now, this is really, really important because some people are going to use this for personal reasons. Maybe you're working so fast that you accidentally slip up and you type in there some student personal identifiable information or some personal identifiable information that belongs to you in there. Or maybe you're working on some very, very important research for the University of Alabama, and at some point it's not known content and we don't want this to kind of slip out, right? So when you have enterprise data protection, it goes nowhere. It is within the confines of UA, it stays here, it is protected, nobody has eyes to this. The large language model doesn't learn. Now, you can still benefit from the large language model, so it's gonna give you awesome stuff back, but it's not shooting the information to it so it can learn from you, like many other competitors do. So it's not training any type of foundational models. Like I said, security is very, very important, so signing in is crucial. If you do not sign in, if you do not see your name in the top right corner of Copilot, you're using a consumer version. You could also tell, and I'll show you a couple different versions of what this looks like, but you could also tell because the consumer version is a lot more colorful, right? So you'll see the business version is it's just kind of plain and white. The consumer one is a lot more colorful, and that consumer version will learn from you. That is training a large language model. Okay, so what do you do? Like I said, I'm going to give you guys access to all these slides, and it's inside of that link. But everybody kind of gets stuck. It's like the first time we ever did a search inside of Google or Bing or Yahoo or whatever search engine you like, right? So it's very, very simple. It tries to focus on like 5 main categories, right? Do you need to catch up on something? Do you need to create something? You need to understand, edit, or do you want to ask? So what I did here is I gave a couple of different samples here on what you can do, right? Just a little bit of a sample prompt. Remember how I said you have to build this muscle? I love these because I always want to go and check out what other people are prompting and how they are prompting, right? I want to see the phrasing. Every single adjective, every single verb changes things. I was enjoying Stephanie's presentation because even within Office, like the way that she uses Office is completely different than me. And she's showing some things like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. Or I was like, I haven't touched that in forever. And things continue to change. Well, prompting is kind of the same way, where you could really learn from kind of collaborating with somebody else. So you see a couple of different examples and kind of where things work best from a Copilot perspective. So there's Copilot infused into PowerPoint, into Outlook, into Word, into Excel, right? Or you can just use Copilot from a web perspective. This is Copilot for M365 is a specific license. So if you right now go into Microsoft Word or PowerPoint and you look in your ribbon in the top right corner and you don't see a Copilot button, don't freak out, right? That just means you're not licensed for this, right? It's a specific type of license. So I'm going to show you a couple of different versions of stuff that you can play with today from a free access inside of Copilot for the web, and then give you a little bit of a sneak peek of how this is infused everywhere else. All right, so let's go into a quick demo. I'm a big fan of Big Al. I did not go to the University of Alabama, but I think you guys have the absolute coolest mascot. So I just absolutely went crazy. By the way, every image that you see of Big Al was created with AI, which was really, really neat. And like I said, I'll give you guys have access to every single image, so you're more than welcome to steal it, use it. And if you message me, I'll teach you how to do it. All right. Here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is your screen might look just a little bit different than mine. I'll try to make mine look as similar as I can to yours. All right, so I went to office.com/chat. And what you're looking at over here, once again, mine might look a little bit different. Like you might not have this little toggle between work and web. That's how I know I have access to M365 Copilot. So M365 Copilot will let me kind of switch between work, which is grounded on all things University of Alabama, or web, which is just grounded on the web. Okay.
Just a quick note.
Yep.
In the chat, she's saying she doesn't have it at the top. She's using a desktop. Just to clarify, we're in the web browser right now.
Yes.
And then you just go to office.com/chat.
Yes. Yep. That should take
And then
them
you
to.
should land up at something that looks like this.
Correct.
If you are a mobile device user and didn't bring a laptop with you today, you can also get to this through the Bing app on your phone or the Office app on your phone.
So when I look over here, I'm gonna kind of just reiterate a couple of things that I mentioned earlier. First thing that I know is I'm logged in over here. I know because I've got my little kind of shield over here where I hover over it turns green. It's called Enterprise Data Protection. If I see my images, I'm pretty much signed in there. Those are my corporate credentials. If not, it would ask you to sign in. If it asks you to sign in, please do not put your personal Outlook or Gmail information. That's just going to take you to the consumer version. If you use the University of Alabama, it should look very, very similar to mine. So it starts off with a couple different boxes over here to kind of just guide you in the right direction, right? Do you want to have a little bit of fun with this, with Copilot for the web? Do you want to answer questions? Do you want to kind of explore some different types of weird facts or create something on social, create some images, which is great. So these are just kind of some options in there. I think I've never, ever clicked on any of these, to be honest, because I just go straight to the prompt in the bottom. When I go straight to the prompt in the bottom, I'm going to kind of highlight a couple different things in here. This is where I'm just going to go and ask it some very, very basic questions, right? I want you to think of this almost like a Google search, but not really. We're trying to get more information on filling in the gaps. So in here, I'm going to say things like, I'm going to be visiting the University of Alabama and presenting. Oh, I'm going to do that on purpose. Presenting on Microsoft Copilot. Tell me some fun facts Okay, a couple of things I want to kind of point out. So I believe I spelled presenting wrong there, and I also didn't capitalize tell. And I'm going to actually delete the word the over here about University of Alabama and Tuscaloosa. So it doesn't matter if I have some different types of typos in there. Any type of question, I want you to just go ahead. Feel free to type away, to just ask anything in there that you can. So you've got some information real fast on historic beginnings, Crimson Tide. I do at some point need an explanation of the whole roll tide. It's a little bit confusing for me, but it's really, really cool because you all say it at the same time. But it's very, very interesting. I've got some information here on Greek life, research powerhouse. You guys are an R1, which is really, really cool. Okay, so I'm going to kind of hover over this. So you see some of these footnotes in here. So it's telling me these footnotes are actually sourcing where this information's coming from. Obviously, because we're using Copilot for the web, it's coming from the web, right? But it's telling you if it's going to be Wikipedia, if it's going to be whatever site it is. And if I want to just dive in a little bit deeper, I can. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click on this link. And it's going to open up another website over here. And it tells me, hey, this came from ua.edu quick facts, right? So it's grabbing that information straight from that source in here. As I scroll down, I'm going to see a couple of different things. Copilot is very nice, right? So I hope these facts help make your presentation even more engaging, right? So thank you, Copilot, for the positive reinforcement there. And then I've got my hyperlinks over here. So it's pulling it from two main sources in there. At any point, I can go and I can copy this content. I can move it somewhere else. I can move it to Word. I can move it to Excel, to PowerPoint, whatever I want. If I absolutely love it, I can give it that thumbs up, which is what I was talking about earlier, the thumbs down. And then it's always going to give you, hey, some possible prompts, like a follow-up. In this case, I want to know more about the $1 Million Band. That's kind of cool. Fun fact, I was in a marching band at one point. Maybe I want to figure out, are there any famous landmarks on campus? Okay, so we're going to go with a $1 Million Band, and then it automatically goes and prompts it for me. I hit enter. Now it's going, it's pulling that information. So there's my information on the $1 Million Band. And is there anything specific you'd like to know more about? So it's still generating information. It's grabbing, once again, the sources. And I can go and say, hey, do you have any signature songs? Sure, I'm going to keep on going with the whole band theme in this case. While it's doing that, I want to kind of just point out a couple of different things. I can go in here and I can just scroll up and I can see obviously what the AI has created. Or I can go over here and maybe see a little bit of a panel button. There you go. There's my little panel button right there. And then if I go into my panel button, I will be able to see exactly what some of my previous sessions are. But here's what's going to happen. I'm going to totally switch. I'm going to hit the new chat button. Once I hit the new chat button, this is my favorite button I like ever. Wish I had this button in real life in my brain. It just wiped everything out. So new chat is really, if I'm going to go and I'm going to change topics, because what's happening is it's understanding what is taking place from your whole session. So before it goes and leverages AI, it's reading exactly, hey, what were the last 2 or 3 questions that you were asking to help kind of make the AI focus a little bit more on the area that you want. So if I would have been, it could have handled, for example, what are some of the best places to eat in the University of Alabama? And then I would have said, help me create instructions for a chocolate cake. And then I could have said in there, tell me the history of Big Al. And then I could have said, I'm looking to buy a PC. What are the top 5 PCs that I should go and purchase today? And I just completely went rogue on that PC one. It's still going to understand things. But from a new chat perspective, I like it because it's kind of like wiping out your brain and saying, okay, I'm focused on something else. Now, in here, I'm going to say something like, I am going to, I need to create social media post.
Can you read it out loud?
Absolutely. So I'm putting in here, I need to create a social media post about the University of Alabama beating LSU. Give me some samples. Now let's just kind of pretend while it's doing this over here, let's pretend I need to go back to because somebody walked out of the room and then all of a sudden they came back and they said, hey, what was that thing that you were talking about earlier? I can always go back into a previous session. In this case, I'm going to go back to where I was talking about the $1 Million Band and more information about that, which is kind of cool. Now I want to go back into the social media post. I absolutely can. So here you can see, there you go, roll tide roll. You got a couple different samples. You notice the emojis. You notice kind of the way that it went and it created social media posts. I'm not very good at creating social media posts, so I will use Copilot all the time. And I could have been even more explicit. I could have said, I want to create a LinkedIn post. It would have changed the format. I want to go and create a post from X. I want to go and do several different things. So this kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of the web. And I wanted to just start off here because I think it's important that everybody just sees everything that is possible as a starting point. And I think this is a great place to build that muscle around prompting and just asking questions, right? Questions so far? Good. All right. Let's shift. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click on work. Work is a little bit different. This is now grounded on all things Copilot in this case. For Microsoft, for you guys would be for the University of Alabama. So I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna show you a couple of different things that I've kind of gone and put in here. So just for time's sake, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of go and start off my day. And one of my favorite prompts to do here is to act as a personal assistant, summarize my meetings for the next 24 hours in a concise table, and add recommendations on preparation if needed. You can actually go and schedule this prompt to run every morning if that's something that you wish to do. But in this case, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an understanding of, we just showed you how to not just prompt, but how to take things to the next level. Now, maybe you guys are a little bit different, but I am terrified, and I'll show you in a little bit my email. I get distracted insanely easy. The last thing I want to do is open up my email because it's going to raise my heart rate. It's going to go and say, hey, you've got 157 unread emails. It's going to distract me. I just want to know, what do I need to focus on? So here we go. I've got this session going on right now. I've got other stuff coming up. Monowork packaging updates, pretty cool. There's a EduSource Together call. I wasn't joking about the AT&T. I do need to go get a charger over there, so I've got to go get in there. So you can see who's the organizers of every single thing that I have coming up in the next 24 hours, and little recommendations. I'll zoom in just so you guys can see a little bit better. You see some of the recommendations there on what I need to do. Once again, I can copy this, I can share this, I can schedule this prompt. So I'm going to go and I'm going to keep on asking even more questions.
Carlos, just one quick question came up in the chat. What edit in pages is? You might get there eventually, but.
Absolutely. So edit in pages. So this is a brand new feature that we just launched less than a month ago. Actually, it started popping up about, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago. And edit in pages is sometimes when I'm using Copilot, when you get really, really good at Copilot, using Copilot, you're just like, give me this and give me this and give me this, right? And you're getting all this information, but at some point you need to act on that, right? You need to kind of go and grab that and move it somewhere or send it somewhere. So edit in pages, basically what it does is it copies everything that it grabbed from that session, and it's going to go and move it into Pages is basically a shortcut to Microsoft Loop. So there's another session on Microsoft Loop a little bit. So Pages has actually gone and created based off of Loop. And it's moving everything in there. So I can keep on asking even more questions in here. Sorry, I know I minimized a little bit too much there. Go back to 100%. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, can you highlight the most important meetings? Sure. Let's go and let's do that. On. There we go. That was driving me insane. There we go. So can you highlight the most important meetings? It's going to go and it's going to give me more information over here. And at any point in time, once again, I can go in here and I can move anything to Pages. So
Getting seasick.
I know. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
My trackpad is way too sensitive.
I feel like I'm watching Blair Witch right now.
Okay, so here you go. So right now it's telling me, hey, from what do I need to highlight the most important thing? So check this out. When I hit edit in Pages, it's going to automatically go and just start throwing things over there. So I still have everything that I had before, and it's just moving things over so I can go and I can collaborate. What's really nice about Pages is the fact that I can go and I can share this, if you're familiar with Loop, and we can be working on something absolutely at the same time. So if I want to go and say, hey, Stephanie, check this out, and she can go and she can modify this. So I want you to imagine now Copilot and using AI while collaborating with somebody else. So at any point in time, I can go and I can change things up. So while I'm actually here and I'm going and I'm changing a couple of different things, I'm going to highlight some things that stand out. See this little 1 of 30 response, and then I go in and I ask something else, and now it says 2 of 30. So I get asked this a lot, which is, hey, what's going on here? Do I only have 30 shots at Copilot a day? That is not the case. So if anybody's ever heard of something like, it's called hallucinations. hallucinations in AI is not a good thing. Okay, so yes, there's different forms of hallucination, but I'll define hallucinations inside of AI. If you're dealing with images, you've seen, for example, if you've ever seen like a really, really weird image, by the way, all my Big Owl images are really, really solid. But if Big Owl had, for example, a third ear, that's an image hallucination. Like he's got his two big ears, and then there's a third one that kind of sticks out in the back, which is kind of weird. That's a hallucination, right? Now imagine hallucination with content. That just means that whatever it's creating is not real or not accurate, right? So what we did is we did an extensive research on the way that Copilot goes and behaves, and it builds it queries upon queries upon queries, right? Question after question after question. And what happens is after 30 consecutive questions, the opportunity for it to hallucinate skyrockets. And that's one thing we do not want ever, right? So when it comes to content and this grabbing information from within all things University of Alabama, we want it to be accurate always, right? So we kind of stopped it at 30. Now what happens is after I hit 30, which by the way, I've never even hit 30, you get your answer usually in 1 or 2 or maybe even 3, or if you're going crazy and not hitting new chat where you can just wipe everything, once you hit new chat, you start over. It's just a whole nother session in there. But if you did, it just kind of stops you right there, and you just have to hit new chat and start a new session at any point in time. So hallucinating is not a good thing, and that's something, once again, that Microsoft Copilot prides itself on not doing. So once again, you can see in here just a couple of different things that'll kind of populate. Biz chat, which is what I'm in right now. This is inside of Copilot, right, where I can go and I can just basically, I'm inside, this could be inside of Teams, this could be on the web. I'm just talking to it normal. But now I'm going to kind of take this to a whole nother level. And I know that this is basics, but I'm just kind of showing you like the art of the possible, right? It's not just about getting answers with AI. It's about taking a different persona, taking a different role. So in here, I'm saying I'm a graduate professor at the University of Alabama School of Business. I'm currently teaching an entrepreneurship college course. Notice how detailed I'm getting. I'm preparing to complete a course activity on startup companies. In preparation for the study, help me compare these 2 cases. And I just a little / and I started naming documents that I know live inside of my OneDrive, right? Anything that you have access to or inside of any type of SharePoint, as long as it's been shared with you or you have access to it, it has access to everything you own, you can edit or you can view. So in this case, I just want to do a quick kind of a comparison. It says create a case study in a table format that includes background information, business challenges, etc. So let's just see what it does. At any point in time while this is doing this, instead of leveraging specific documents, it could have been files, it could have been people, it could have been meetings, it could have been anything in here. So without me even opening up my OneDrive, like God knows where this even exists. I have no idea where those 2 documents are. They're somewhere deep in the dark holes of OneDrive, which is not organized for me. But I've got over here, there's my aspect, I've got my two documents. Once again, notice the footnotes. If I want to see exactly where this was, it was last edited May 14th, 2024 by Darren Clay. There's my PDF. It could be a PDF document. It could be a Word document. These 2 case studies could have nothing to do with each other, and it'll still go and do a little bit of a comparison if that's what you ask it to do. I didn't just do a comparison. I wanted a little bit of a SWOT analysis on both of these as well. How long would that have taken me to find these documents, read each document, do a quick analysis? Do I want to spend time on this or do I not? So what you're going to see with M365 Copilot from a theme perspective is constantly saving time. This would have taken me all morning. All right.
Just I want to point something out too that I've been using this for, just even in the free version. So things that might not live inside of my OneDrive. I was asked to participate in a panel discussion with the Center for Practical Ethics at Ole Miss around AI. That committee put together a shared file of about 40 documents for us to review prior to arriving so that we could participate in this discourse analysis deeply. I don't have, on a good day, I don't even want to have time to read 40 documents, right? So I used Copilot. Again, they didn't live in my OneDrive, but it was a public access link. I used OneDrive to do the exact same thing. So in the free version, you could potentially have the same experience where you're creating, and I didn't just say, hey, give me a recap and a SWOT. I said, act as a participant in a discourse, provide me with a couple of questions that I might ask to others to spur on conversations. So in the flight it took me to get from Atlanta to Memphis, had this running, and by the time I landed, I had good questions to make it sound like I really knew what I was talking about. And then I could just use my brain, right? I didn't have to use my brain for the pre-read. I could use my brain to participate actively in the moment. So think about that for grants, funding applications, and reviewing all those materials ahead of time. Think about it for, again, now in my role, I sit on committees for dissertations. Think about the ways that you could save time in just reviewing for things like that. As a student, I could have been much more active in my courses if I were able to use my time to participate actively versus trying to play catch up on the millions of things that I was responsible for reading. So just wanted to call out a myriad, list of options for how to use this, even in the free version.
So we're gonna do a little bit of rapid fire over here. I'm gonna show you my last thing around BizChat, and I'm gonna move on to specific M365 applications. So this is a very, very common need of mine. So I got a good buddy of mine, Dwayne Hyatt, who is constantly sharing information with me. He's my 5 a.m. buddy because he's the only other person working at 5 a.m. with me. And he sends me stuff and I was like, I don't have time for this. So how many times have you been like, oh, what was that Excel sheet? What was that thing that Bill sent me? Right? So in this case, I'm gonna say create a list of the last 3 documents that Dwayne Hyatt shared with me. Notice how all I have to do is say his name, right? / say his name, or I could have mentioned him. And this is, once again, just combing through everything. This is chats, calendars, emails, Teams meetings, everything possible. So these are the 3 documents. I see the 2 PowerPoints and what looks to be a SharePoint site. He's working on a couple of different workshops. Those are the workshops right there. I quickly have access to this. If I want to go and I want to open this at any point in time, there's my hyperlink and I can just open that document, or maybe I just want to go and say, what are the key points based off of that PowerPoint? And it'll tell me that without even opening the PowerPoint. This for me is absolutely gold. All right, here we go. Let's do a quick one. All right, so now I'm going to shift over to Teams. Let's see if I can find it. Let's do it. The other version over here. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do inside of Teams. So when I'm inside of Teams, there's a couple different things that I can do. A lot of people don't know about this really awesome feature over here. Stephanie was talking about this, the ellipses, right? Where you can go and you can see a bunch of other stuff that you had no idea you had access to. In there is Meet. Meet is a nice kind of way of looking at everything that I've been a part of, all the recordings, everything in there, stuff that I've missed, stuff that I've recorded, places that I've been mentioned at any point in time. So in this case, I want to go and maybe I want to go and see, hey, where are some videos? There's the videos right there. Oh, and if there's a video going on that's live right now, I can go and I can see the details of who's on here before I even join the meeting, right? So if I know that like Stephanie's on the meeting, maybe I don't need to be in that meeting. In there, or maybe I realize, hey, I should probably be in that meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go and look for an old one. You can see some stuff that I've been in, some stuff that I've missed. I'm going to click on this. I'm looking for a good meeting over here, trying to stay out of trouble. Clearly, this is all work stuff. I think October 16th, there was some cool stuff over here. Here we go. So there was a higher ed big conference called EDUCAUSE, right? I couldn't be on this call, and this is our what we call our know before you call. So know before you go. So the know before you go is like a quick, everybody who's going to this conference, let's get on the same page. Where are we gonna go? How are we gonna kind of present from a Microsoft perspective? So while this is going and while this is opening, a couple of things are gonna kind of show up and populate. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to have, because I was using Copilot and you were hitting record or transcription was turned on, you're going to go and you're going to have access to all of the AI notes. So when you turn on transcription, I love this because while I'm inside of a meeting, it's going in there. Let's see, it's just taking a little bit. But while I'm inside of a meeting, what's happening there is it's going to go and it's going to basically say, hey, so I can focus a little bit more. It's gonna start taking just notes that I can go and see any type of action items that might exist. Hold on, let me go in here real fast. I think it's getting a little bit shy on me because everybody's staring. Let's try this. Okay, I'm gonna cheat into another meeting over here. I think that one might have been just a little bit too old in here. So I'll kind of click on this one. So this is a interesting, we call this an internal sync, right? So we had a call that was kind of coming up, and I had all these engineers kind of on here, which was pretty neat. And I can look over here. Hey, here's all of my notes over here around AI solutions, meeting preparation, follow-up tasks. Nobody wrote any of this. If I want to go and I want to take a better look at what was said over here from Rob or Tammy or myself, I can see exactly what took place. But here's what I'm going to do. How many times have you ever been late to a meeting? Liars. Okay, nobody. Okay, so see, this is for you, for those, I saw your hand, Bill. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of the things I've asked over here. When I'm late for a meeting or, life happens, maybe I miss a meeting. First thing I'm going to say is, was my name mentioned? This is private. Nobody knows that I'm asking it this question. This is between me and Copilot. So I've got the recording in there. I'm going to say right now, was my name mentioned? Yes, your name was mentioned. I wasn't late for this one, for the record. But it says, hey, Tammy mentioned you here. I can go right to the footnote on where it was, where my name was actually mentioned. It'll take me right to that spot in the recording. I'm going to say, what were the action items from this meeting? There's all of my action items in there. We've been working on some really cool Canvas integrations, Workday integrations, Copilot Studio, roadmap type stuff. So you see exactly everything that was said. What follow-up questions should I ask? You can even tell Copilot, hey, based off of this, I'm dealing with some guys that are just a little bit over the top and they go down this rabbit hole with engineering and I have to bring them back. But I'm like, what questions should I ask? Maybe I'm just not understanding what they're saying. Sometimes I grab that transcription and I say, help me understand these notes and rewrite them in a 5th grade reading level. Rewrite them in a college reading level. So you can start thinking about like all the different things, or maybe even translate in there. So as I'm kind of going in there, now I'm thinking a little bit different. I'm saying, all right, these guys are going down the rabbit hole and I need to bring them back. Help me convince this team to focus on M365 Copilot and not going down a complex extensibility story. And then now it's giving me some suggestions. Hey, highlight simplicity and efficiency. Here's how. Cost effectiveness. This is what you want to say with cost effectiveness, right? So you start seeing all the different things. And then the last thing is I always ask is, what was the tone of this meeting? Sometimes, we're walking into a heated meeting, right? And we're like, oh, first thing I want to know is what's the tone of this meeting, right? Did we start off a little bit aggressive? Did we say, I respectfully disagree? Whatever it might be. I think that's always really, really important to know. So once again, I can query with Copilot during the meeting. Here's a cool thing. I can do this after the meeting. If you guys saw my calendar, it is out of control. Like, for example, you saw Stephanie's already, right? But in here, it's like, who am I going to let down? I can't be in 4 meetings at the same time. So these are all different things that really help, that Copilot really helps me with. All right, now I'm going to kind of flash through Word and PowerPoint and Excel and a couple of others really fast. So this is Microsoft Word, and I pretended to be a student. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a different take on this, right? So with Word, at any point in time, I could go and summarize this. This is kind of neat. There's a nice little Copilot summary version in there where it's going to go and just summarize what is this document about. I can go and I can edit with Copilot by just highlighting any kind of information, and then you see my little Copilot button there. If I want to go and I want to change this, I want to write a prompt, I want to auto write, I can. But I could use Copilot as a thought partner when I open it up over here on the side. So I don't want to mess with anything that, in this case, I'm pretending to be a student. These are my student notes for this class. Yes, I can create an image, I can create action items, I can summarize this, I can even have some fun fact. You could always convert anything to pirate talk. I know we do that every Friday just for fun, not with everybody. but just to mix things up just a little bit. But I will tell you, here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and treat this just a little bit different. I'm going to say, help me prepare for an upcoming test. Create a quick Q&A based on these notes. So you can imagine now, whether I'm faculty, staff, or I'm an actual student, how something like this would be really, really helpful. So it's looking at all the content, obviously just here. It's still creating it. One thing that you should probably do is put a little bit of parameters so it doesn't try to overachieve. Sure, I'll be happy to help you around business analytics. Hey, here, there's a question, there's the answer. There's some more questions, there's some more answers. Notice the footnotes. If I want to see exactly where it was pulling that, I can. Also notice that it was confidential. So this document is set up as confidential. So anything that I do with AI will keep the security aspect of things, which is really, really important. Now I want to say,
this is a good way to show too, like you can even say to Copilot, act as my tutor, give me one question, multiple choice at a time about the content in this document, and give me tips about how I could have better answered or prepared. So like you can really personify how Copilot responds to you by building a bit of that persona in the question format.
All right, so I'm going to try that. Act as my tutor, create possible essay questions and help me prepare for them. Create 3 essay questions. I could have done 5, I could have done 4. I could have said, create the essay questions and then give me an answer, right? So there's your essay questions being created. You see what's possible, how I'm using Copilot as a thought partner in the document. At no point was I leaving. Do I need to go somewhere else, another website? I am focused completely on here.
Another way, and I put this in the chat for those who are joining online and you all can get back to it, but I made a couple of infographics I shared on LinkedIn a while ago, but one of the most powerful prompts that students have been using Copilot free version outside of M365 is to upload one by one each of their syllabi for the semester and have Copilot create one chronological list of everything that they should be prepping for across all of their courses. And they can also include extracurriculars, club schedules. They just upload those to Copilot and it prompts them, okay, I'm ready for the next one. Okay, I'm ready for the next one. Do you have another? And then it gives you a table view of everything in chronological order, which is super helpful, especially for our students who are freshmen who might not have that executive function yet. You're used to high school where they're telling you on Canvas or on whatever LMS, all your teachers and all of them are using the same thing. Here in higher ed, it's a little bit more diverse, right? Things are coming at you in different formats from different professors, different clubs, etc. So super, super helpful. And that's again in the free version.
So I'm shifting here to PowerPoint and I'm saying, hey, create a presentation on joint ventures, right? That I can go and present to my business class. So right from scratch, didn't reference any documents. I'll do that next. But in here, it's saying, hey, here's everything I can do. It's creating a presentation. It's giving me a little bit of an agenda of what this presentation can be like. I can go and I can manipulate things, change the order. I can like them. I can change them. I could use Copilot even inside of this if I want to. So for example, I want to go and make this a lot shorter. So I'm going to go in here and just delete a couple things in there. And now I'm going to say, hey, generate slides. So based off of whatever it is that I kept, it's going to go and generate a visual presentation specifically around joint ventures. It's going to also help just based off of the topic from a sensitivity label based off of whatever policies University of Alabama has. It will go and it will try to auto classify that presentation. It's going to also not just create the visual aspect and the notes, sorry, the content from the pages, but it's also going to create speaking notes around this. So let's see what this looks like. There's my understanding joint ventures. Here's everything in there. And now it says, hey, do I want to trash this and start all over? Do I want to keep this? In this case, I'm going to say I'm going to keep this. And when I go and I click on this, I want to just kind of point out that I just created this in there. And you can see speaking notes that are tied to each and every slide, which is really, really neat. All right, now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go back into a blank presentation. I'm going to say, over here. I'm going to treat this just a little bit different. I'm going to go into my Copilot ribbon. And I want to create a presentation from a file. Remember that business students class notes that we were just working on? Now it's grabbing all of my class notes and it's creating an actual presentation based off of that file. And if you remember, that document was classified as confidential. So you're going to see, because it was using AI, it's bringing it in as confidential as well. Drafting their presentation, 6%, 8%. Here's my sensitivity label, confidential. All right, see what this looks like. Okay, and then while it's kind of loading over here, I want to just kind of say the purpose of Copilot is to not do your work for you. It's meant to save you time and kickstart things. If it got you to about 80%, that's our goal. Can we get you to 80%, 85%, 90% there? So in this case, I can go in here and I can look at this. And I was like, okay, from informational, clearly, I don't have any very visual images. I need to go and I need to change this. That's because my notes were a little bit dry. Business analytics, there's only so many analytics images that I can probably put in there. But you can see exactly how I can go, and this got me, hey, I'm ready to go. I can edit this. I can be up and running and have a pretty good presentation really, really fast. Copilot is not just for building. You can ask it any questions, just like I did in Microsoft Word. I can do this inside of PowerPoint if I want to kind of dive in deeper into anything that was mentioned in there. All right, I'm shifting over here. I'm going to go into Excel really fast.
10 minutes.
Perfect. All right, so when you look at Excel, don't freak out. This is not real salary information in here. I actually use Copilot to create a bunch of fake data in here. And this was going to be just, you know, maybe this happens to you, maybe this doesn't. It happens to me all the time. Somebody sends you this great massive Excel file, and it's that they say something like, hey, Carlos, what do you think about that data? I open it up and I look at this, and you'll see it in just a second. I know it took forever, but this just goes on and on and on. And I've got maybe 460. I'm still looking. How many rows do I have here worth of data? I'm over 1,000 already. Yep, right at 1,000. 1,001. I've got 1,001 job titles, departments, business units, genders, ethnicities, annual salary, bonus percentages. And my first response is going to be like, yeah, it looks good. Data looks great. Oh, you know, do you have any insights, Carlos? Yeah. Give me some time. I got to think about this one, right? How long is it going to go and is it going to take me to kind of look at this? So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to kind of go and just analyze this with Copilot. So I'm going to open up Copilot over here. I haven't selected any information at all. I'm not looking at specific things. And now I can just ask it a specific question. I can prompt my way into any type of data here. I can say, help me understand the difference between the departments and the business units and genders and this and that. Or I can cheat and I'm gonna click my favorite button, which says show data insights. And it's not just gonna go and grab one data insights. It's gonna go and look at as many data insights as possible. And I can press that button to say show more and show more and show more. And if you're familiar with pivot charts, this is gonna go and create a nice little pivot chart. So I'm gonna go here. This looks good. Now I'm gonna press this over and over and over. Look at all these different data points that I have. And I can go and I can bring this into a new sheet. So now I can look at any of this. I can copy this. I can bring this into PowerPoint. I've got some, hey, data based off of the vice president, looking at job titles and noticeable higher bonuses. So the VP is getting a lot more bonuses than the network engineer. Shocker. There was one data point over here where I think I saw that marketing was like making the most amount of money. I was like, really? We need to fix that. There we go. Bonus percentage by department. Marketing is the highest. Maybe that's not something I want. So you can see how you can kind of use this. If I have any, and I'm running out of time, but if I have anything like, if you guys are diving in deeper into like, what else can I do with this data? And you're familiar with, for example, Python, and you want to go and kind of connect Python into this where I can bring in an external source. It'll actually go and create all the Python code for me, and it can go and basically do predictive analytics around any of this data, which is insanely powerful. All right, I'm going to finish up over here with one more thing. I'm gonna open up Outlook. Please do not judge me. Everybody close your eyes. This is gonna be bad. Wait for it, wait for it. Oh, 130, not bad. Okay, I'll take it. Clearly, this is Stephanie right now is in the back saying, no wonder he never reads my emails. All right, so,
Hey, Copilot, show Carlos all the things he missed from Stephanie.
yes, not a prompt I run often. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kind of pick on this one. Typical, you got a typical thread over here. Oh my God, it's got 3, 4, or 5, or 7. I don't have time for this. Right? I'm gonna hit summary by Copilot, and it's gonna summarize not just that email, it's gonna summarize that whole thread. And now, based off of these quick 4 lines, I can say, yep, I gotta go and I gotta take action on this. And at any point in time, I can go in here and I can schedule with Copilot, which is a really, really cool feature, where now it's gonna look at all of our calendars, assuming that we're normal people and have available times. Sometimes we don't have available times in here. I'm on a cruise vacation that day, so that day is not gonna work for me, but I'm just gonna kind of go with it in here and say, maybe Dom's not available, or maybe somebody's not available, but it's kind of gonna go and just automatically schedule this, which is neat because this is such a pet peeve of mine. People create meetings without an agenda. Hey, I need you to be there. Great. What do you want me to talk about? I can talk about a lot of things. So in this case, it created an agenda based off of that thread, summarize that thread. I can go and I can edit this and I can send this. If I need help, if you haven't noticed by the speed of the way that I speak, I'm very much a task guy. I go and I'm a to-do guy. And my wife is constantly saying, hey, Carlos, you're a little bit bossy. It's like, I'm not bossy. I'm just getting work done. So when I go and I type my emails, sometimes it just comes off wrong. So I can go and I can grab this information, and let's just pretend I'm gonna go discard. I'm gonna discard all this information so I won't send anybody a new email. And I'm gonna say over here, let's draft with Copilot. Create a thank you email to Stephanie for inviting me to the University of Alabama Copilot presentation. Notice how I misspelled everything because I have no time. It's still gonna understand exactly what it is that I have here. There's Stephanie, I hope this email finds you well. All right, great. Maybe I wanna, let's not discard that. Oh, shouldn't have discarded that, that's okay. But maybe I wanna go in there, I wanna coach by Copilot, or I wanna see the tone. I can always go in there and not just draft with Copilot, but I can go and get a bunch of different coaching on different ways that I can change that email. Okay. Going to the deck, there is so much more. It's not just Copilot inside of Word and Outlook. There's Copilot inside of the web, Copilot inside of OneNote, inside of Edge, inside of Whiteboard, Forms. You can do, we basically infused AI into everything, and you guys are gonna get you're gonna get all these slides that basically say, hey, here's what Copilot does best, which I love. And if you want just to dive in just a little bit deeper, I have some screenshots over here. Here's a great place to start, right? Copilot in Forms, if you're creating a quick survey, you say, I want to create a survey for these people about X, Y, and Z. Bam, it'll create it for you. Maybe I might edit 1 or 2 things, but it saved me a ton of time. Copilot in Outlook, in Excel, in Teams, in Loop. We're going to talk about Loop later today, which is really, really neat. If you want to see some intermediate level type stuff, I've got some different tips and tricks in there on how you can go and modify your prompts. If you want to understand where to learn more, Copilot Lab, I gave the hyperlink in there. That's going to give you little tips and tricks of where you can go. And then here's some ideas of what we call like the first 10 places to start off with, right? Just great, simple things that you can go and you can do. And all of these are obviously inside of Copilot Lab. From a next steps perspective, just remember, prompting is like building a muscle. It takes a little bit of time and you get really, really good at it fast. Extremely good. I gave you a ton of self-paced courses that you guys can leverage in here. Those are all hyperlinked in their prompt toolkits that you can download. So great stuff on where to start with Copilot. I'm going to leave this one up here for just 2 seconds. If you want to screenshot that, or if you want to just put it in there, or maybe Stephanie, you can put it in there. aka.ms/Bama Copilot will give you access to all of the presentations in there. And if you want to connect, here's a great way of finding me. Notice how I didn't put my email because you're gonna be number 156 and 57. So I feel a little bit more social pressure to get connected with you in LinkedIn and actually answer back. So that's a great way of getting a hold of me. All right, that's all I've got.